And welcome back to the Holistic Monitor. And I am Nick Sconier, your host. Now, today we have a guest that we've had on before, Pamela Aloia. She is in a new field. We're calling it the crystal field. This is named after her new book. And we're going to bring her in to talk about what she's been doing and where she's looking to advance and help others. How are we doing?
Hi, Nick. I'm doing good today. How about you?
Okay. Very good. Very good. So we've discussed before your work. I believe it was in body work. Is that correct?
It is. It is, yes. And the last time I was on the show, I was talking about my book, The Daily Cloak, which
Yeah.
is deals with a lot of energy work and how to keep yourself protected and aligned uh, with your own intentions and your own lights without being too affected by what other people are bringing or throwing at you.
Right. Very important.
Yeah.
I'm all about the grounding, so that's
Yes.
near and dear to me. And so you have kind of gone into not necessarily a new direction, but somewhat. Would you like to discuss
It's
the
true.
the new avenue that you're looking at or
Sure.
approach?
Sure, thank you. So a lot of most of all of my books at this point have been either factual or inspirational. So I've written a young reader's book, which is called The Crystal Field. See, there it is. You can
Mhm.
get this on Amazon. And it is a young reader's book. And it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to write a children's book or a children's story. I have lots of creativity and short stories that I've written over the years. I just haven't felt the need to publish them until now. I don't think this is going to be a one off. I have quite a few other ideas in the works right now. But I think the crystal field came about more for us to remember the magic within. I mean, it is geared towards young readers, but it will touch the hearts of adults and young folks alike to remind us that the magic is out there. And sometimes we don't even need to be looking for it. We just need to be open enough to see that it's there. And in a time where so many issues are being raised and so much contention around different issues, and trying to cancel the cancel culture and trying to differentiate each other instead of finding those similarities. That's what the book is talking about. Even though there are differences on the surface about people, in the end, we're all really the same. We're all in this together, and to spread the love and light is really what the book's about.
Yeah, that's a good goal. I think there's a lot of confusion in the early years. What age group are you kind of directing this at?
I say from the 8 to 10 year olds.
Okay. Yeah, very
Yeah.
challenging times. I have great memories from that time period,
Oh, good.
and yeah. And what is it illustrated as well? And it has
Yeah.
great.
Yes, there are a
Okay.
few. There are a few little photos in there. So I did have a graphic designer help me with this. I don't know
Mhm.
if you can see them all. So yeah, there we go. So some small little pictures in there. But again, try not to. We kind of went back and forth on this because I wasn't sure how much of the story I wanted to show. In an
Mhm.
image, we wanted to leave enough up to the imagination of the reader so they could imagine it however it was for them instead of giving them the image themselves. And the last time I read this, I thought I could see this on the screen. I could actually see it as a movie going on,
Mm,
which is
okay.
lovely. So and that, that's in the back of my mind. Maybe we could do that at some point. Maybe a short, whether it's a cartoon or not. I think
Yeah.
it's a cute it's a cute story, but and it's a but the message is timeless. It really is
Yeah.
timeless. Yeah.
And the crystal field, does it have crystals in it?
Well, you could read the book and read it out.
Well, is it all about crystals? Yeah.
It's more about the connection between I don't want to even say people either. It's about connection between different beings that
Hmm.
is important and how that connection then reverts back to yourself. Your reflection, your relationship. I believe our relationships are a reflection with our relationship with ourselves. And the fact that we can find the good in others means that we can find the good in ourselves too.
Okay.
So I
That's
know I
great.
didn't directly answer your question,
No, it's all right. Yeah. We do a lot of work with crystals, and we look at life as kind of a crystalline base, and that
Absolutely.
while it develops these modes of perception, so that can help define itself. And if we look inwards for ourselves, we also see that crystal there, and we are able to see how we perceive the world in different ways, and tune into it, or align with that, in that
Absolutely.
sense. And a lot of what's happening right prior to puberty and those next stages of life is a lot of development. If you're in school, of course, there's a lot of learning words, and just trying to get a grasp on the bigger structures of sentences, and that sort of thing. But there's also a lot of playground politics that starts to happen, and your best friend that you're always with every day or whatever might be at that time period, and also bullying and everything like that comes about. A lot of things
Right.
get set in stone for how puberty is going to act out, in a
Agreed.
sense. Yeah.
Agreed. The whole social construct, and then what you think is working in one area might not be working 2 years from now.
Right.
And I remember growing up when around this age, I had a wonderful best friendship, I thought, and then it turned out to be not what I thought it was. So you start learning these things early, and it's kind of crushing initially, and you
Yeah.
don't know exactly what to do with it. So part of what I did, I mean, you find other friends at that point in time because it's that age. It's easier when you're younger to connect with other folks. But one of the things I did do often was read. I mean, I would not necessarily escape. I just loved reading people's creations. Oh my gosh, I didn't expect the story to go down that road.
Right. Right.
So that's one thing I think that I did, and my writing then became that avenue for me to process not only things that are going on in life, but also to delve into that creativity that is there. Because a lot of times after we get out of school, or even in school, we get to a point where, depending on where our interests lie, our creativity gets a little squelched or ignored because we're working so hard to make a living or get that degree so that we can go out and make a living, hopefully buy a house at some point and have a family if that's what we so desire, travel. So sometimes our creativity gets squelched a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. For myself, I wanted to experience, and I wanted to know things. I wanted to kind of have a feeling, in a sense, that I had conquered um, certain realms of the world, in a
Mm.
sense. I
Hmm.
wanted to go and see as many cities as possible when I was older, out of puberty. I left that I allowed that creativity. Um,
Yes.
I let it go and be part of my life in the beginning. And then I found that life, after I started locking in what I was going to do and how I was going to do it, began to kind of backseat the creativity, because that's kind of what the world at large does. Is it doesn't allow a lot of time for that creativity. You
Yeah.
have to make the time. And
Agreed.
I found that the more serious life became, as far as work and career, et cetera, goes, the less time there was for these creative avenues. When we're young, we have all the time.
Yeah, but we don't know
Yeah,
it. We don't realize we have all that time. And then and
yeah.
then all of a sudden it's gone, or it's definitely less. It's definitely
It's
less.
not focused on. And I would say that one of the greatest things you said, something about friends, and how there was just more friends. As a lot of people, they're not every day going into a huge community of peers and
True.
learning and discussing things. They're no longer doing that thing, which could generate quite a bit of creativity and new ideas. And I feel like that is one thing that, if I was to reach out to people and say, what can you do when you get older? It's community outreach, is to get out there and just talk with people and act like the world is a school, because
Absolutely.
it is. We can always learn more.
It
Um,
is. I agree with you on that. I say to people, especially when I deal with individual clients, that even though, and I try to do this myself, it's not always easy because you're emotionally attached to your own situations, but every situation gives us
yeah,
information where we can learn from it. Okay, this didn't feel good. This did. What can I do now? It's just a learning ground. So I do agree with you on the school aspect of it. And I do want to tie it back to the crystals. I think the crystals do help us out with that. I think all of Mother Earth's creations can help us out with that. We can connect with nature. We can connect with crystals to help us understand what they know, or to help support us in our own projects. It's
Mhm.
just been it's a lovely aspect. And at first, I know some people are not open to that whatsoever. But when they have a first experience, it just opens the doors. So
Yeah, I call it the gateway stones. The
yes,
ones that
yes, yes,
grab you and pull you into the world of stones, which
yeah,
at whatever level. That's just
right,
usually it's initially fascination. Like, why is
yes,
that stone doing that? And
yeah.
then it becomes this other thing where they're actually in the rocks and they don't even know it. And then where it goes from there, it all depends. But
It depends, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely love the stones. And I come from a family of writers. I am not nearly as good of a writer as my parents, but I am also working on a book myself. And though I'm keeping the subject, close because I
yeah.
haven't, gotten much too far. It's a great idea that I'm going to pump out there. But you're also working with writers as well. Is that correct?
True. Yes. Writing has been in my blood forever. I love writing. I used to do it for a partial live. No, that's not true. It was a living for a while. I was a technical writer for a while. Not the same thing as the creativity piece, but that is
Mhm.
something I've always done, is write, whether it is poetry or short stories, anything like that, for myself. Um, so recently, well, it's not so recently, I guess in the past 20 so years, I have written about 4 books and co-authored another one. And like you said, I have so many ideas. I have so many started books that I
Mhm.
can't, I can't tell you. I'm like, this is an awesome idea. And you spend some time on it, and then something else comes in or something else distracts you.
Yeah.
Um, but what I think is really important is to help support other folks in that process. And especially in the work that I'm doing, there are so many people that have fascinating stories. Some of them are heartbreaking stories, but it's inspiring to see how they come out on the other side of it, or how they're even going through it. I work
Yeah.
with a lovely organization that's called Unite for Her. And they are a now national organization that helps most women and men who have breast and ovarian cancer, and they offer them 12 months of alternative therapy sessions like massage,
Hmm.
Reiki, yoga, meditation, acupuncture, things like that, while they're going through their treatment.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a wonderful thing to do, because it's taking the whole body as opposed to just the medical field that's taking the physical body, which is fine. We just want to make it more holistic, which is wonderful. But
Yeah.
the people you meet and what they're going through, not only with the diagnosis, but other things going on in their lives, whether things are going on with their kids, their parents, they're going through divorce. It is fascinating to me to see the different mindsets, the support groups that people have or don't have, and how they get through it. So a lot of it, and it helps a lot of those folks. I want to say those folks because it helps every single one of us if we take the time to write about our stories, because our stories hold some emotion, they hold some gems in them for us to understand, and they can inspire other people. I was just working with a gentleman who was a physician throughout COVID, and he dealt with a lot. I'll just say that. I don't want to ruin anything. Because he just published a book about his experiences and how he developed anxiety and depression. I have another woman who is overcoming drug addiction, but also is dealing with the death of her son, who overdosed on drugs as well. So, and they all have this beautiful story of what they learned, but how resilient the human spirit is. And sometimes we don't know that until we write about it. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to go out and publish their own story. Just the writing of it is incredibly healing. And if you do decide to share it with others, know that it can be inspiring. I had a client of mine who was going through significant family turmoil, where there were lots of disjointed and broken relationships that are just not going to be repaired. And it's just amazing how some of the emotions that are coming up for her, that she's like, oh, I thought I dealt with this already, and it just keeps coming up. It just keeps coming up. So I do hold various workshops, individual and group workshops, where we go through writing our story, and we take some time throughout each of the sections or the segments where we are writing, where we address the emotions that are coming up for us. And I call it write your transformational story in a day, because we spend that full day writing, but also dealing with the emotions that are coming up and seeing, okay, what am I learning from this? Can I release this now? Where is this coming from? And it can be quite powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. The power of writing, and it's not necessarily a book, but the power
Right.
of writing
Yeah.
itself
Yes.
is amazing, and it's subtle. You begin to just craft this message to yourself or to another or to the world or whatever. I found a lot that comes out of, for me, I love to put out, to write, and by put out I mean write, fantasy, in that I can kind of go anywhere with a storyline and have character development and all these different factors. And what it pulls out of me, that is like a release of a certain type of energy that I can feel a little more at ease in my life, because I've released this pressure that's inside. And I know that that probably happens with all writing. It depends on what you're writing. I think scientific oriented type of work or nonfiction probably releases a different kind of energy than science fiction or science fantasy or something like that. Do you work or write in any kind of variable ways, and notice a difference in
Yeah,
what
I would
the
absolutely
output
agree
is?
with you on that, because when you're writing about it, it accesses different parts of our brain. So if we're working
Yeah.
with more that's the more technical, we're obviously being more logical and more practical about what we're writing. When we're writing more of the fantasy or the fiction, you could go anywhere, and and that's where some of our ideas come up, where we don't have that obviously opportunity to do when we're writing nonfiction. Um, so yes, the energy is definitely different. I also like to write. I'm actually having a series. It's called the Wisdom Writing Workshop Series. I'm doing it all of this month, but I hold them periodically throughout the year. And it could be a 1 day class, or a couple hour class, I should say, and then it can be a series of up to 7 weeks,
Mm.
where we get together and we write. There's no structure typically, but there are specific prompts. So we can write about a specific picture or write about a specific emotion, or and the type of writing that we do doesn't matter. We can do poetry, short stories, factual writing, whatever it is that you decide you want to do in that moment. And it is quite fascinating, some of the things that people come up with. And because there is limited structure, we almost, I don't want to say automatically write, but sometimes we do automatically write in those arenas. And what comes up are things that we've either buried or things that are going on that we didn't even know that was going on within us. I
Mm.
had one woman write, she had joined one of my classes earlier this year. And so when she reread it a couple months later, some of the things that we wrote in that series, it totally correlated to what she was going on in her life and gave her some answers for some of the issues that she was going through. But she didn't realize it till after the fact. She said, "Oh my gosh, I need to go back to this. I had this wisdom then, so now I have to. I'm taking every class now, so I can find that wisdom. So it makes it easier for me when I go through issues next, because it's in there. Our
Right.
subconscious has it, and the writing, depending on how you prompt it and how you bring it out, definitely shows itself. So
Yeah.
it is really fascinating.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? And it's what you can come up with
Yeah.
when you're allowed to, within the barriers or within the guidelines, when you're
Yeah,
allowed
it's
to explore, basically.
exactly. It is an
Yeah.
exploration, and you uncover these epiphanies and this wisdom that you did not even consider you had, and then you give yourself the time to access it. You're talking about not having the time to be creative. Is the same thing. It's that self-care piece where, okay, I need time to do this, and you're absolutely right. Feeling that release afterwards uh, is so right. Is so dead on. I think there are plenty of times where I'm in the middle of something, and there's something ruminating. I'm like, I just got to sit down for an hour or two and write. And in those moments, I don't know if you find it this way, but in those moments, everything just flows. It comes out so fast, and
Hmm.
you're so excited that you did it, because if you waited, you would have truncated, or it just wouldn't have flowed as well. So that's always a lovely experience too.
Yeah, I tap in really well right when I wake up is
Yes.
the best time for me to be
Yeah.
connected to source or whatever, to that
Yeah.
creative flow, and really powerful messages can come through with that at that time
Sure.
versus where the sun is up and things are active and happening. It's still
Yes.
there. It's just less connected and
Yeah.
um, less available to be connected to. So
Yeah.
it's just for me, the beginning of the morning is the best time to just let it flow out. I just have to get into that right space and place. And I think for a lot of people, they're thinking, well, I don't have time. If you go to bed a little earlier, you wake up a little earlier before all whatever was going to happen in that day. There's your time. And that's, you have to make the time. And usually that's
Yeah.
where it's possible. For me, I have a little son, and he wakes up soon. So, you know, so my mornings are very important because I can actually
Yeah.
get a little bit of space and time to do things that need to be done before he wakes up. Because when he wakes up, it's game
That's it.
over. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
There's not me time anymore, and I think
Right.
that's the same for a lot of people. There's just a lot of running around in life, and it's
Definitely.
either when people go to sleep or when you wake up. And I find that if you can squeeze when you wake up to a little earlier, that'll get you that connection, that rested energy, but also that ability to be distraction free from life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And at that point of the day, and I know I like the morning too. The morning is definitely my connection time too. There's a
Yeah.
couple things with that. It sets the tone for your day when you do that. It
Hmm.
really sets the tone for the day when you have that time and you make that time. I read somewhere that discipline is the best self-care that you can give yourself. And I
Yeah.
do believe that. I mean, if you're disciplined enough to get up and give yourself that 20 minutes, half hour, or whatever it is that you take, it really sets the tone for your week, your life, because
Yeah.
you're creating that reflection time and you get some ideas on how you want the day to go or what you want to do in this situation. It is truly lovely. Yes, good
Yeah.
for you. Good
Yeah.
for you.
Good times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you explore different types of crystals or anything like that in this book? Or, and if so, what is your favorite crystal to highlight, even if it's not in the book? We'll go
We
there.
do we do touch upon crystals in the book, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
It is it's just a lovely sentiment for crystals. I love crystals. I've been dealing with them for I'd say the last 20-25 years,
Mm,
and I have them all throughout my home. And there are certain days, I would say about every few weeks, I'll change where they are in the home to set up the energy in the home. Do I have a favorite? Oh my gosh, they're all my favorite. It's funny when I work with clients, I'll say, "Oh, this is a great stone." What we could be talking about: malachite, fluorite, anything,
everything.
And
Right.
I'll say that about everything. Every stone is awesome. And when I do my healing work too, a lot of colors will come in, and I'll say, "Oh, this is a great color. Oh, this is." They're all great colors because they all serve a purpose, and they all heal us different ways. Same thing with animal totems. If different animals come in, I'm like, oh, this animal came in. This is awesome. This, and this, and then because everything is here to support us, and if you can look at it that way, and be okay with what comes through for us and accept it, that's where the power lies. I have a funny story here. I had done an animal totem meditation or workshop where we identified the animal totem, our primary animal totem, because I believe we have quite a few with us, and
Mm-hmm.
some pop in and out based on the projects that we're working on or situations we're going through. And this one person was so distraught that he got a penguin. He's like, I don't want a penguin for an animal totem. And so we started delving into, I said, well, look it up. Well, first of all, let's meditate more. What does this animal totem have for you? And we did. We found some deep things that he was on the edge of exploring. He wasn't really ready to go there yet, but this is why the penguin was there for him. But then when he did some more research, he's like, okay, I get it. This is really actually a perfect animal for me. But we have these judgments about, oh, I don't want to work with that crystal, and we do the same
Right.
thing with people. I don't want to work with that person. And that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, yeah, we are not all crystals, not all nature, not all people are going to resonate with us. But I keep going back to we need to find the similarities. Where's the similarity? And let's work with that. If we have to work with somebody and we don't have a choice, then we need to make it the best possible scenario we can. And then obviously we come back home and we deal with our families and friends and the people that and spend the time the way we want to. But I think there's such a draw to staying divisive and not
Mm,
finding that similarity, that I think we need to be mentors to our peers, that this is how we need to do it. That this is
yeah.
how we can be peaceful. We don't have to agree. We don't have to like each other, but we can still coexist with compassion.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great answer because that's basically my answer is that I don't do favorites.
Yeah. No.
You can't do favorites.
No.
I
No.
had a favorite when I first got started into rocks that got me into rocks. I soon, after dealing in rocks, I realized that a lot of people are turned on by this one rock, one of the two rocks that I really got glommed onto, and labradorite. And I
Uh,
realized, like, well, it's not just me. you know,
right.
labradorite's got a lot of people
It
on the
does.
favorite list, and so I
Yeah.
thought, maybe there's other things to explore. And a Shara white, there's so many different stones that I've fallen in love with that I just
Yes.
absolutely love and love to work with. But then, do I have a favorite? No, because it just depends on the day. Like it's
It
more
totally
more to
does.
recognize that I'm a changing being, and the stone is the constant. But
Yes.
I'm a changing person that is allowed
Yes.
to morph between these different realms of colors and crystalline structures.
Right.
Um, just amazing things that come with crystals that people just to take a little look, they're like, wow, is that for real? The Smithsonian, the Natural History Museum, which is free to the public, which is one of the best things about our country, is that we have these huge museums that are free for you to walk into. Has amazing stones in it that are
Yes.
like the all-time best stones. I mean, this is the
Yes.
place you want to go to look at rocks
Yes.
and
Yes.
to really get in. And some of those stones are people's favorite.
Hmm.
They look at that one in the case and they say, that's my favorite
That's
stone.
mine. Yes.
And I find that sometimes I am really into a rock that doesn't have an appearance. And I say rock because I like the level of the playing field as much as possible.
I understand.
A stone, and that doesn't have a characteristic that would necessarily be appealing, but it's doing something for me. And like
Mm-hmm.
you said, the word, it's resonating in a way for me that's different, that I've accepted or that I've approached, and that I realize is part of me that I like to work on.
Right.
It's really hard sometimes to find those stones, but I think it's very important when you do. I have a rock that I dreamed about prior to finding, which I thought was really cool.
Isn't that fascinating? I love that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's just
Yeah.
a piece of pegmatite. There's nothing to it at all. But it was the shape, and in my dream, I used it to balance a boulder on it.
Oh. Oh my
And
goodness.
it's like a magic trick that I
That
did for
was
people that
yeah.
were in the room. And I was like, well, watch this. I'll bounce this huge rock on this little tiny spire. And then within a day, if I can remember correctly, this is 30 years ago or something, but I was hiking in the mountains and I saw it. I saw a little rock. I was like, there it is. So of course I had to pick it up. A
Of
dream
course.
rock. It's a
Of
dream
course.
rock.
Yes.
But there's nothing to it that nobody would want this stone, period. But it has a certain resonance for me that it won't have for somebody
With
else.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. And I tell people that all the time. So out of curiosity, what was the first thing, I don't want to say the first, yeah, I'll say the first thing that you did with that stone other than pick it up? Like, was there any other connection or information you received from it?
Well, I picked it up and put it in my pocket. I of course looked at it. I examined it to make sure that, like, is this for real? Pinch me.
Right.
Wait a minute, what world am I in? And then and maybe that would be what came across was this cross barrier, across the barrier kind of energy, because that's unfounded. And I will say that it's definitely helped me to cross that barrier in dreams and
Mm,
reality.
nice.
Um, but I feel like that's really you got to be very careful with dream stuff
Hmm.
when you start to interject the dream world into this world.
Hmm.
Um, they don't like to share so much. It's nice to have a nice barrier between them because
Hmm.
they don't play nice sometimes together. So the rock has helped me to open that veil and to be able to concentrate on that other place
Hmm.
and to get there, which is nice. It has its own dream pouch with other items that I've collected from my dreams, if that makes any sense.
It does.
And it has its place. So but again, if somebody found it, they would say, I don't understand this.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
make any sense.
Yeah.
And of all the other stones that I sell or that I collect and have, what the heck does this have a special pouch for? And it wouldn't make any sense to anybody. And I think that's part of the relationship we have with a lot of things. If somebody else
Hmm.
found it, they'd be like, why do you have this? What's this? What's the
Right.
deal? And for
Right.
me, it works in a certain way, and I have a special relationship with it
Right.
that somebody else seeing it would not
Would
understand.
not. I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah. And I have a lot of, especially folks who are relatively new to crystals, they are very, what does this crystal do? What does this crystal do? They want to put it
Mm-hmm.
in a little box. So
Right.
one of the
Right.
things I'll tell my clients is, listen, just whatever crystals you have, put them around in front of you and say, okay, which crystal wants to walk with me today, or which crystal wants to hang out with me today, and you just pick it up. Don't worry about what it does, and if you do want to know what it does, ask it. And if you don't get an answer, keep asking until you get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So because I think we get so rigid about what each stone does. I'm like, no, they all have awesome qualities, and they all just
Right.
don't do this one little thing. And the other thing I tell folks is that, oh, well, I don't have enough money for this crystal, or oh, I lost this crystal. Yes, I understand that sometimes that's not, it's not good, and we get upset about it. But we can connect with the energy of crystals without having the actual crystal with us. And I think sometimes we don't remember that, because there's lots of times when I'm traveling and I don't want to carry certain crystals with me. I'll just ask that energy stay with me throughout my travels or something like that. So I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
your listeners know that, but that's something I think is important for people to realize too when they're working with crystals.
Yeah. It's one of the realities, if you call it reality, one of the realities of the quantum field. And
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it's very important for a person to get to know something, to resonate with it, but then
Yes.
they can release it and
Yes.
go on along their way. And at any point in time, they can call on that time of resonation
Exactly.
and remember
Yes.
that and experience and communicate with that
With that.
through that channel that's been
Yes.
created. And um, that is it's a thing that people do get caught into, because I think it is part of one part of the new age of crystals is that there are tomes that say, just like dreams, like, what's it mean when you see a thing in your dream?
Yes. Yes.
And what is malachite? Well, malachite has a lot of different properties to it.
Properties. Yeah.
Depends on the kind of malachite.
Yeah.
What's a great one that would be a good variable? A sapphire, for an example. Lots of different shades of color for a
Mm-hmm.
sapphire.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to resonate in a different way. It grows in a crystalline pattern that's specific to itself most of the time. So you'll look at that as something that it's going to do as a consistent, but the color can variate, the shape can variate. These are all pretty important factors to its physicality
Mm-hmm.
and what it will do. But also, as you approach it, if you've not worked on your crown chakra, if you've not worked on your throat chakra, and you approach a stone that exhibits high properties for handling a crown or the throat chakra issues,
Mm-hmm.
but yours aren't worked on well, you may have a very adverse reaction to those
Exactly. Yes.
versus an enhanced power with it. So it really
Yes.
depends on the person's. Again, we are the changing ones
Yeah.
that walk around and morph. When we approach these stones in our way, that is a very a cascade of different colors. So it's important for us to know what our intention is and what we want to get out of the day, or what our
Exactly.
outcome we want, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
When we go looking for stones. Now, I see a lot of people, they'll come up to stones and close their eyes and use their hand and feel for the stone. And I think that's probably the best way to do it,
Yeah.
because a lot of times we utilize our other senses to get in the way of what our true need is. And,
Exactly. Yes.
by putting that intention out and saying, you know what, today I need legal support. So who's going to help me with that?
Me. Right.
Close your
That's
eye,
it.
you scan
Yep.
wherever you feel the wind or the cold or the heat or whatever the
Yes.
sense is that you're looking for. That's
Yes.
your stone. That's your rock. Yeah.
Yes. I wholeheartedly agree. Wholeheartedly
Yeah,
agree.
that's
Yes.
cool.
Yes.
Well, it's been great talking, and
I
I'm
agree.
really excited to help promote this book to
Thank you
the
very much. I appreciate you having me on.
yeah, that wonderful age group, and look forward to. And now, where can everybody
I
find
was
you?
just going to say that. Yes.
Get
So you
that.
can find me on, I have PamelaAloia.com. It's PamelaAloia. My healing work is at soulangel.com, which is SOLANGEL. And I am doing, I just started a new website for my writing piece. I did have it on PamelaAloia.com, but it seemed to get a little convoluted. And that's Blossoming Every Day. So if you're an author out there and you're looking for a little support, you don't know where to start, or you feel stuck, just give me a shout. I'll help you out. We'll see what we can do.
That's excellent.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much again, and look forward to another interview in the future.
I agree. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah,
All
awesome.
right.
Take care.
You too.